Welcome back, everyone. So in today's video, I want to go over my stock photography earnings for the month of July 2023. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so I've been a bit busy lately. I've been on vacation. I went to Hershey Park in Pennsylvania. That was super fun. Did a lot of stuff, ate a lot of stuff, rode some rides. The kids were on some rides. They enjoyed themselves. Overall, it was all around a good time. Did get some stock photos while I was down there, of course. Some stock photos of the hotel room, or at least the things I did in the hotel room. Room service, all of that. And I'll be making a separate video about, kind of each one of those little photo shoots that I did. Including, I went to the Hershey Garden, and that has a lot of butterflies and stuff, and I captured some beautiful butterfly photos. I'll throw one up now. But yeah, I'm gonna make a video about just the experience of shooting in this enclosed atrium is what they call it. And beyond that, I've just been shooting stock photos, but I haven't been uploading much recently. I have the photos to finalize the edits on, put some keywords on them and upload them, but I just haven't done that. So yeah, I need to get around to doing that sometime soon. Anyways, that is why I'm late with this video, so let's jump right into it. All right, so July was not the best month, and it's not surprising because June, July, going into August are the slowest months in stock photography across the board. And yeah, my portfolio definitely reflected that. While it's not the lowest I've seen, it's certainly the lowest for me in quite a while. So I want to start off with Depositphotos. So on Depositphotos, I have 277 images and 0 videos. And for the first time, I made my first sale on Depositphotos. And it was only for 25 cents, but it was like a proof of concept that I could actually sell stuff on there. And it was just a simple photo of, I snapped a picture of a keychain hook, something that's in my house every single day, always there. And I just snapped a picture, and here it is. Yeah, that sold for 25 cents. So that's all I sold for Depositphotos in July. So the total for them was 25 cents. Moving on to Dreamstime. I don't make a lot of sale on Dreamstime if you've watched any of these videos. And this month was no exception. I did, however, sell 4 images that I want to go over. The first one is a composite image where I composited onto a black chalkboard a caution sign, and in that caution sign I wrote drones. So caution, drones. Anyways, that sold for 35 cents. In fact, all of these images that I'm about to show were 35 cents each. The next one and all the following ones are also on this chalkboard, and for this one I wrote the words opioids, and that one sold. The next one is the one that sells consistently for me on especially Shutterstock, and that's the clock dissolving away on the chalkboard. Last but not least is an image that was similar to the first one, but this time instead of drones I wrote the word opioids, and that also sold for 35 cents. So what these images show is that you can use one subject to get a myriad of photos, and they could all sell. So sometimes it is worth doing, taking what are called template images, and these are just images of a blank chalkboard, and you can put on those whatever you want, whenever you want. So any scenario comes around in the news, you can pop something on that and put it up on the stock agencies. And that's something that you should have in your repertoire for, like downtimes. If it's raining or whatever, the weather is bad, you can, quickly edit something in Photoshop and put it up on the agencies. And, eventually it will sell. And it's fun doing it, right? So you have fun while you're potentially making some money. So in total for July, I had 4 sales on Dreamstime. and I made $1.40. All right, and let's get to the next agency, and perhaps one of the biggest disappointments for me in July, and that is Shutterstock. So on Shutterstock, I have 1,815 images and 109 videos. 0 video sales for this month, so we won't get into that. But overall, yeah, it was a very disappointing month for me on Shutterstock, and August is looking to be much of the same. In fact, if anything doesn't change, it's going to be worse than what I got in July. Anyways, let's get to it. This first image is just a prescription image, and this one was a fairly recent image that I uploaded, and that one sold for 17 cents. And it's just, you know, a prescription bottle in the background, and in the foreground we have a couple pills, and yeah, it's on a black background. Overall, I think it's a nice image. A lot of room for copy and expand in the background for designers if they wish to do so. So these next 2 images are very similar, and they're both taken with my drone, the DJI Mini 2. I think they were taken on the same day, I can't remember. Anyways, here's the first one. This one sold for 10 cents, and the second one here, this also sold for 10 cents. I really like the second one, you know, the sun and the solar panel. I mean, you can't have more than that, right? They complement each other. Anyways, let's move on. So this next one is also a composite image, and I use that same black chalkboard that I did in those photos I showed you for Dreamstime. And on this one, I just laid out a bunch of color pencil off to the side and took the picture from above with a ton of copy space on the right side. And I suspect this sold because, you know, it's back to school time. All right, and this next one is a simple shot, but nonetheless effective in what it portrays, and it's just an image of a cell phone on a keyboard with the word Google Ads, including the logo on the smartphone. And yeah, that sold for $2.21 on Shutterstock. This one is an editorial image, by the way. You can't have logos in commercial images. And these next 2 images are some of the reasons why I continue to buy a bunch of different macro lenses. Whilst I don't always go out and shoot the typical macro subjects such as insects and what have you, nature stuff, I love to do macro shots of everyday items and get really close-up detail images of those items, and you know, show those things in a different way, a more intriguing way, I think. But anyways, so this first image is just a close-up of a circuit board and the ICU on that circuit board, and that one sold for 13 cents on Shutterstock. And the following image, or this next image, is also a close-up of a circuit board, but this time showing a capacitor, and that one sold for 11 cents. Yeah, so those are all of the highlights that I have for Shutterstock for July. And in total, I sold 60 images on Shutterstock, and I made $20.38. A very poorly performing month for me on Shutterstock, but lately it's not entirely surprising, right? Let's move on to the next agency. All right, so let's talk about Adobe Stock. So on Adobe Stock, I have 1,716 images and 59 videos. So this first image is from way back in the days when I just started stock photography. Maybe like, you know, 6.5 years ago. But anyways, you can see this one is very stocky. It's just my wife holding a stethoscope. She has a lab coat on, and in the background you can see like a medical setting, right? So this is a composite image, and I cut my wife out from what was a white background, I do believe, and I placed her in front of this hospital type setting, and I blurred the background in Photoshop. and that one sold for 36 cents. So it's always good to see these images that you've done so long ago selling. This is not the first time that it's sold, but it's the first time I've seen it in quite a while. And these next three images are of my daughter, and if you've seen my video a couple of videos ago talking about what I've been uploading for June, you will have seen this image or this series of images already. And it's just her eating a watermelon. And for whatever reason, it's a very popular image on Adobe Stock. I mean, it sells just about every single day. So in July, when I uploaded this image, this first one here where she's looking at the camera, eating the watermelon, that one sold a bunch of times and overall earned $6.17. This next one here, very similar, but just a different pose, earned a total of 36 cents. And this one here, also in the same sequence, earned 99 cents. And these were simple images to take, right? She was already eating the watermelon, and I was like, hold it there real quick and snap a few photos, and they're selling like crazy. Yeah, so I sold a lot of new photos on Adobe Stock in July, and that I uploaded in June. So this next one is of my daughter using an iPad or a tablet, if you want to be generic, and that one sold for 36 cents. That's also a new image that I uploaded. Similarly, this one is also a new photo that I uploaded in July, and it's just a bunch of sewing pins, right? Very colorful, and that one sold for 36 cents. All right, and this next one was uploaded within the year, and it's just a bunch of pills on a prescription pad with like the prescription bottle off in the background. That one sold for $1.35 on Adobe. And speaking of macro, this next one is a macro image. Everyday stuff, right? It's just a close-up of a ballpoint pen about to check a box on a 1040 or 1080 tax form. That one made 99 cents. But yeah, definitely utilize your macro lens if you have it. Take images, close-up images or macro images of everyday items. Do it in intriguing ways, and you never know, they will sell, and you will have fun doing it. You will enjoy the process, right? Because we don't look at these objects every day at this magnification, so it is interesting to look at the very least. All right, so moving on, this next one is also my daughter, being the brilliant actor that she is. I took an image of her looking out the window, looking, down, depressed, sad, or bored. Any one of those will fit on this image. And that one sold for 99 cents. And I have a bunch of images like this in that sequence. All right, and moving on to a couple AI images. For this month, I'm not gonna show every single AI images that sold. I'm just gonna show a couple of new ones that haven't been shown much on these earnings videos. This first one has not been shown at all, but however, I did make a video about making it, right? I'll put that video up now. I do believe it was a video about using ChatGPT to title and keyword your stock photos, especially AI generated images. Anyways, you can see this image here. It looks very good, and it's just of a family out having dinner or just having food, and they're enjoying themselves, laughing, all around having a good time. And that one sold for 99 cents. And this one here is one of the few AI food photos that I have, but this one sold for 36 cents. And I did make a video sale on Adobe Stock, and it's just me turning the dials of a 4-opter, and that one sold for $2.80. Overall, Adobe performed okay. right? It's not the best, but it's fairly consistent. It's nothing like Shutterstock. Anyways, I made 126 sales, and I made $89.56. So overall, not the best month for me on Adobe Stock, but not the worst month either by far. All right, and let's get to my overall best performer for this month and practically every month since I've been reporting on these stock agencies, and that's Envato Element. So on Envato, I now have 3,006 images across my 2 portfolios and 0 videos. They have a different platform for videos, so that's a non-starter. All right, so let's get to the first image, and this one is a consistent seller, consistent performer for me on Envato. It's just the gears that I did in Illustrator, and on them I have like business, performance, process goals, just business related words, buzzwords, right? Overall, that earned $10.17 on Envato for July. And this next one, a very consistent performer as well. It's just me sitting in front of 3 computer screens, and on the screens I have a bunch of computer code. And that image earned $11.36. Overall, a very consistent performer, that image and the first one. These next 2 images are very abstract. The first one here is a, what's called intentional camera movement image, right? And basically it's a long exposure shot, and I took this while I was in the car. My wife was driving at the time, and they had like, a bunch of, cars in front of me. And you had the brake lights, and you had the oncoming traffic, and you had the stoplight. I think I put my camera on bulb mode and just held it down and moved the camera around, and I got this image. I got a bunch of them in this series, and I thought they turned out good. I do like them. Anyways, this one earned 85 cents on Envato Elements. And this next one here was also taken on the same day, and you can see the cars in the in the image there, and it was raining at the time. And yeah, it's just a blurred image. And that one earned 80 cents on Envato Elements. All right, and this next image is from like back in the days when my family used to have, these large family summer cookouts. And this particular one is just jerk chicken on a grill, and a bunch of jerk chicken. That one earned 83 cents on Envato Elements. I really like this image. It's emblematic, summer, family, and fun, pretty much. All right, so this next image is one of my favorite images that I have out there on the stock agencies, and it's just my son sitting in a pile of leaves in fall, and he's laughing, looking kind of off to the side of the camera, but overall it's a very cute photo, and that one earned 97 cents. I love that photo, and pretty much all of the images I got from that day turned out to be very well. I do believe I rented the Canon 1.2 50mm lens, and this was either taken on the 5D Mark II or the 5D Mark III. I'm leaning towards the 5D Mark II though. But anyways, it goes to show that, old gear can take very good photos. All right, so this next image is just of buildings in New York. Me and a couple of, my wife, and a couple work friends went to see Trevor Noah in Madison Square Garden for my birthday, and yeah, we took a bunch of images. Well, I did at least. And this particular one earned $1.05 on Envato Elements. All right, and this next image is just a silhouette of one of my musician friends, and this was taken before I even knew about stock photography, way back. I do believe in like 2011, 2010. anyways, you can see him holding the guitar and making the rock sign there. And that one earned $7.19. So on to the next image. This one is a very typical stock photo. It's just a computer, well, part of a laptop, and then we have a tablet with a blank white screen and glasses off to the side, and that one earned $7.49. And this one could be used for, you know, mock-ups. Companies that want to put their website logo or whatever image they want onto the iPad screen. So this last one here is an image that I took a while ago, and it's just everyone in my immediate family. So me, my wife, and my 2 kids, and we're just holding hands, and I snapped the image, and here it is. That one earned $4.02 for me on Envato in July. So that brings us to a close for Envato Elements. So in total, if you've seen any of these videos, you know I sell a crap ton of images on Envato. Anyways, this month is without exception, and I sold 1,435 images and made a total of $185.58. Not the best month for me either on Envato Elements, but that seems to be consistent across all the agencies, as I've said in the start there. All right, guys, so that brings us to a close for July 2023. So in total, across all of the agencies, I sold 1,626 images, and I made $297.17. A fairly poor month for me overall, but it is something. So that will pretty much do it for me, guys. I'm sorry I was late on this one. But anyways, if you got anything from this video, if you enjoyed it, if you found it informative, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss a video. All right, until next time, have a good one.